Baltimore Ravens take on the Cleveland Browns in the final week of the regular season with the AFC North crown on the line. We're previewing all the details of this matchup in this game preview episode of the Flock Rundown.
Ravens Flock. Flock Rundown is the place to be.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.
Appreciate you, Ray. What's up, Ravens fans? My name is Ryan, and welcome back to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Final week of the regular season. This season flew by, as it always does. But we got the Browns this week on Saturday at 4:30 Eastern, and it's for the AFC North title. The Ravens are favored by 20 in this game, and that is probably because there's a ton of Browns out. They're also starting Bailey Zappi at quarterback, and they're trying to play spoiler, of course, but I think they're also trying to get a high draft pick. And, you know, some guys are out there playing for some individual stuff. I know Myles Garrett's out there determined, but the Ravens should win this game. I mean, let's be honest. They have everything on the line. They have a playoff run right in front of them, and they want to win the AFC North. They want to roll into the playoffs with momentum. They want to host a playoff game next Saturday. If the Ravens win this game, they will host the LA Chargers or the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let me know who you guys would want and why. I love hearing who you guys want in the first round. I don't think it really matters. You know, we got to face everyone anyway. I don't think the Ravens are going to have an easy road during this playoffs. It's most likely LA Pitt in the first round, then Buffalo, then Kansas City. So, I mean, we got a gauntlet of a playoff road, but wouldn't want it any other way, man. Let's go prove the world wrong and go win a Super Bowl. But this game here is kind of a weird game. You know, it feels like it's so lopsided and the Ravens should just absolutely dominate and have their starters out in the fourth quarter. But it is the Browns. They do know the Ravens well. We lost to the Browns earlier this season, although there were a lot of different factors going on. We had no Marlon Humphrey, no Nate Wiggins in that game. The Browns had Jameis Winston starting at quarterback. Not that we should have lost that game, but it's a totally different game right now. Jameis Winston's not playing. The Ravens are fully healthy. We'll go over the injury report in a second. But it's a different circumstance from earlier in this season. Plus, earlier in this season, the Browns were still trying to win games and fight for a successful season. You know, at this point, they have 3 wins. They know they're not fighting for anything at all. And by a lot of the roster decisions, I don't think that they mind losing. You know, I'm sure the players want to win, obviously. They want to play spoiler. They want to go out and put great tape out there. But the ownership, the GM, they're okay with having a higher draft pick. I guarantee it. But let's dive into these injury reports and see who's playing. The Ravens have ruled out Jalen Armour-Davis and Justice Hill. No surprise there. Justice Hill has not been back to practice. Harbaugh did confirm, though, that it's because of this illness. It is nothing to do with his concussion. He has cleared concussion protocol, so they really should take that off the injury report. But Charlie Kolar has a chance to go. I don't know if they're going to risk him in this game. He'll definitely be back for the playoffs because he was activated off IR this week and he's been practicing in full. I could see him out there, but I wouldn't be surprised if they just hold him back for one more week too. And then Patrick McCarry's questionable. We'll see if he gives it a go. There's a lot of guys sick this week. I know Ronnie Stanley and Matt Abike and McCarry and Justice Hill all had illnesses. But overall, the Ravens are pretty healthy. We'll get Nelson Aguilar back this week. Rasheen Ali should be good to go. I don't really see any key guys at all missing this game. For the Browns, it's a completely different story. I mean, Jerome Ford out. Jordan Hicks out, David Njoku out, Pierre Strong out, Denzel Ward out, and then there's a bunch of guys questionable. This definitely feels like a game that they are just kind of putting some guys out there to see what they have and get out of this regular season and head into the offseason and enjoy a few months off, because I just don't see the Browns being that competitive in this game when they have this many guys out. They're starting Bailey Zappi at quarterback. I know Myles Garrett's going to give it a go. He talked earlier this week about wanting to play spoiler and ruin the Ravens' playoff path. Not that we wouldn't make the playoffs, but obviously if we lose this game and Pittsburgh wins and they win the AFC North, that would be terrible. And I'm sure Cleveland does want to cause some chaos. I just don't think they're fully loaded enough. And going back to Myles Garrett, he had some high praise for Lamar Jackson and said something that I didn't really expect him to say. I know he's, you know, the most dominant defensive player in the league, basically. And he talked about how usually, even earlier this season, their goal was to just keep Lamar Jackson in the pocket so he can't use his legs, can't buy time, and just let him throw downfield and live and die with that. but that is not working at all this year. Obviously, Lamar Jackson has 39 touchdown passes, and we'll talk about this in a second, but Lamar Jackson is potentially going to set the all-time passer rating in a season, and that is a lot through throwing, and Myles Garrett realized that his development is so crazy that he admitted, we don't know what to do anymore. Let's play that clip.
I mean, I'd rather upset them and mess up their playoff hopes. And if the sack title comes along with that, great. I'm definitely gonna do what I can to be disruptive and take 8 out the game as much as possible. So, if that comes along with it, outstanding. But at the end of the day, I want to win.
How difficult is it to take? I mean, is it possible to even take 8 out of the game completely?
Out completely? Hell no. And the man's amazing. A couple years back, you would say, try to keep him in the pocket. I think even beginning of the season, we were like, just try to keep him in the pocket and make him throw it as much as possible. And now you're like, shit, we don't know what to do. He's been steadily growing, year after year. He lost that baby weight. Now he's back to being lean and fast as hell. So now, whether he breaks the pocket or he stays in the pockets, you're gonna have a rough day because he can do everything.
That's some really high praise coming from a guy like Myles Garrett, because this guy wrecks teams, man. He knows how to get to the quarterback. And for him to be like, we just really don't know what to do. We used to keep him in the pocket. Now that doesn't work at all because Lamar just keeps growing year after year and upping his game and is throwing the ball better than he ever has, reading the field better than he ever has. Not to mention lost weight and is back to being as fast as he ever was. So that is a lot to deal with for defenses, and Myles Garrett was honest and open and was just like, hey, man, we don't know. He's the hardest guy to bring down in the NFL, and there's no real way of stopping it. Saying all that, he's obviously going to go out there on Saturday and try to stop it and blow this game up, but I just don't, even if he has a sack or two, I just do not see the Browns being able to do enough in this game to win. I really don't even think this should be close. Vegas agrees. I mean, -20 is crazy. I thought the Giants spread was wild when we were favored by like 16 against the Giants or whatever it was, but now we are favored by 20 once they announced that Bailey Zappe's at quarterback. The Ravens defense is playing better than it has all season. The Ravens offense is playing better than it has all season. Henry's running the ball with force. I just don't see how the Ravens don't come out of here and dominate this game and bench the guys in the fourth quarter, get some rest, and just roll into next weekend with momentum. And to hop back to Lamar Jackson, the passer rating record is on the line. Right now, Lamar Jackson is second all-time for a single-season passer rating, only behind Aaron Rodgers in 2011, who had a 122.5 passer rating. Lamar Jackson needs 135 passer rating in this game to beat Aaron Rodgers. Now, I believe he can get a 134.6 or higher, but that ties it, so I'm not exactly sure if they round up or what the exact tiebreaker is in that scenario, so I just said 135. So if Lamar Jackson gets a 135 passer rating or higher, he definitely breaks the record. If he gets a 134.5, he ties it, but the decimal rounds up, so maybe he beats it. I'm not exactly sure how that works. If you do, let me know. But I definitely know that he needs a 135, and he's good. And he's done that 7 different games this season. So it's not like 135 is out of reach. Lamar Jackson, if he has enough throws, I think he'll be out there for a decent amount of the game. I bet you Lamar plays 3 quarters, unless we're up 20 at halftime, then they might pull him midway through the third or something. But I just think that he probably plays 3 full quarters to make sure that this game's put away. And if it's close, he'll play the whole game. But I'm just saying, if we are up a couple scores, nobody important's playing in the fourth quarter. We got to preserve them for the playoffs next week. That is what's most important, although this AFC North title is going to be sweet. Couple pass rushers have some individual things that they want to hit too. Van Noy is seeking a half sack for a $250,000 bonus. He's already hit another bonus for $250,000, but he is a half sack away from 12 sacks, which would get him a $250K bonus. So look for Van Noy to definitely get a half sack. And then Owe has 9 sacks, Double-digit sacks is always a big deal. You know, they're always competing within the pass rush group, and I know Owe wants that 10th sack. Van Noy spoke about that on his podcast, so look for Owe to get that 10th sack as well. And if Lamar Jackson goes out there Saturday and gets, 3 touchdowns or more, no turnovers, I really think he puts a staple in this MVP race. I know we've been talking about it for weeks. I've been constantly saying Lamar deserves this MVP. The media narrative is not quite there, and the betting odds are definitely not there. But Lamar Jackson deserves this MVP. I mean, it's hard to argue, man. And I think going out there and having another dominant game, I know it's against the Browns, who only have 3 wins, so I don't think the win's going to move the needle at all, and maybe the stats don't either, but I think Lamar can put a little cherry on top of the dominant season, especially if he goes out there and breaks that passer rating record. It's kind of hard to not give the MVP to the quarterback who has the greatest single season passer rating in the history of football. He's beating Aaron Rodgers' MVP years, and we're going to give it to Josh Allen, who has like 101 passer rating. Lamar has 121. I mean, let's make that make sense. Lamar Jackson's touchdown to interception ratio is absurd. Lamar has more yards. Lamar has more touchdowns, less turnovers, higher completion percentage, higher passer rating. I mean, it's a slam dunk in my mind. So I don't really understand the betting odds, and I'm going to keep fighting the narrative as much as possible. But I think the keys to this game is just don't beat yourselves as usual. The Ravens should easily win this game if they aren't playing sloppy football, if they're not turning the ball over, having a ton of penalties out of nowhere. And I don't expect that. They haven't been playing like that. Earlier in the season, we've seen a lot of those issues. We were the worst team in the league in penalties. We would have turnovers at really bad times. We weren't getting turnovers on defense. Our pass defense was terrible. Justin Tucker was missing field goals. Our offensive line was super inconsistent. All that in the last 6 weeks has came together, and we're playing the best football of the season. So I don't really foresee any of that happening, but I'm just saying we cruise in this game if we don't beat ourselves. And I think our defense dominates in this game. I mean, we're going against Bailey Zappi, who the Browns have not played. They don't have Jerome Ford. They don't have Nick Chubb. Their running game, I mean, they're probably not going to be able to run the ball anyway. We have a stout run defense, but I just also don't see Bailey Zappi throwing it all over the field. Our pass defense has improved tremendously. The last time we played the Browns, we had that bad pass defense. We had Eddie Jackson back there blowing coverages. We didn't have Marlon Humphrey or Nate Wiggins, and Jameis Winston slings it, man. That's a guy who's fearless. I know he turns the ball over, and speaking of that game, I think he should have had 3 picks in that game. We dropped him, but regardless, this is a different defense that the Browns are going against, and this is also a different Browns offense. So the Ravens defense has improved tremendously, and the Browns offense is way worse right now just due to personnel. So I really think the defense, I don't know about a shutout, but they should hold this team to like 10 points, man. I really think that the defense is going to dominate in this game. And when you give the Ravens offense chance after chance, they're going to put up quite a bit of points. So for a score prediction in this game, I'm going Ravens 31, Browns 10. This is the most lopsided score prediction that I've had all year. If it was a healthy Browns team, I think this game would be closer just because it is a division game. I don't want to disrespect the division games. The division games are always a little sloppier, a little tighter than we expect them to be or what they should be, I guess, on paper. But this is a different style game, man. The Browns are ready to go home, and they're putting in a lot of backups just to kind of see what they got. And the Ravens are playing for everything, man. We're playing for the hat and T-shirts, to celebrate the AFC North Championship at the bank, to host a playoff game next weekend at the bank. This is important stuff, man. And I do not see the Ravens slacking. I think the Ravens are going to come out hot, dominate this game early, and rest their guys for the fourth quarter. So I'm going 31-10. Let me know what your score predictions are, some bold predictions about this game. I'm excited for this one. The game's already here tomorrow. I feel like we've been playing on the weirdest days ever, but Saturday it is. Here we go. We're the first game of the week. Is no Thursday game this week. So the Ravens kick off week 18. And let's kick it off with a win in the AFC North Championship. But I appreciate you guys, as always, for tuning in to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Go Ravens. And I'll let the greatest linebacker in the history of the game take us out.
Ravens Flock. The Flock Rundown is the place to be. My man Ryan. has been a lifelong Ravens fan since he was born. The Flock Rundown. Nothing gets better than waking up and wondering how high we can fly. Tune in.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense. Can't